Hey everybody, this is the Noise Brigade. I'm Bobby. He's Tom. We're gonna do a little something different than we normally do. Everybody at this point is well aware of the devastation that took place across the Midwest over the past couple days, and Tom lives in that area, and so I wanted to give him a chance to kind of talk about it and walk us through, what his experience was, and talk about it from someone who lived it. So. I'm not going to say too much more. Tom, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man, this is just absolutely wild. The last few days have just been kind of a blur, and I just, we can't thank our lucky stars enough that nothing hit here. But just to kind of frame all this up. Everyone is at this point well aware of the massive amount of tornadoes we had this past Friday, December 10th, particularly one that ran for several hundred miles and devastated a town called Mayfield that is actually about 25 miles, I like to say, as the crow flies, south from us. And it's a town that we've have frequented over the years, and just we've done different celebrations there, and I've got family, and my dad, who was remarried after my mom had passed several years ago. Her family is generally in that area, so I have a lot of, like, I can't say close associations with the town itself or anyone there, but enough to where we've been in Kentucky for 20 years. So it's very, very, it's one of those areas that we were at fairly frequently. Um, but to just kind of run down a kind of a timeline of how things were, and like I said, you and I have been texting for about this since it all happened, and I think I used the word surreal a couple times, and that's still how it feels. Um, but Friday morning, actually, we'll back up a little bit. A week prior to that, we had another kind of similar situation here where the weather was really dicey. It was really warm. It's not typically warm here in December. It was up to like 70 degrees a week prior, and we had some really bad storms come through. And in fact, on those storms, we had a tornado warning go off that was close to our house, but nothing really came of that one for us anyway. Um, then fast forward, they had been talking about this on and off all week about the potential for really bad storms in the area regionally. There was quite a big indication of really severe weather that was potential existed, mainly because the weather had gotten to where the temperature had gotten the same thing. It was going to be 70 degrees, again unseasonable for the area. And then with cold front coming through, it just kind of was like a perfect recipe for a problem. So Friday hits, and we're really kind of monitoring the situations as far as timing, because we have a lot of after school events. I know school district I work for. So as the day kind of progressed, things, weren't changing. So we decided to, be proactive and just cancel a lot of things. And a lot of places did that kind of ahead of this, just because of the timing. It was supposed to arrive between 6 and 10 p.m. So that's kind of where we're at. And feel free, dude, to stop me and ask anything as well. So
One thing that stuck out to me, and it bugged the hell out of me, um, was the people in the Amazon warehouse. Now, do you know anybody that worked in there or anything?
no, that was actually a different tornado that hit, and it was about 2 hours north, roughly.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but yeah, no, but that one hit around the same time. It was close. I want to say that one hit around 8:30 or 9 o'clock Central Time. As far as hitting that in Edwardsville.
Yeah,
Um,
because there's, what bugs me is, the whole area is under watch for these catastrophic storms that are coming through, and I can't imagine how callous, they were to keep the place open when these deadly storms are rolling through. Like I feel like
Right.
it's kind of common sense where like everything else is shutting down. Well, maybe an Amazon warehouse should shut down.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. That kind of goes through, and I'm sure you're well aware of the candle factory situation in Mayfield,
Right.
which is nearly an identical thing. And we'll get into that a little bit, but so we're kind of sitting here, and we're at this point. I'd picked up some pizza, just because we didn't really feel like cooking. Been a longer week, and so we just kind of sat down and about, I want to say, so it was about 6 p.m. Central Time, kind of glued to the television, if you will, and just watching, the local news. At this time, we were under tornado watch, and then we had some tornado warnings that had started to pop up, like in the really far southwest corner of like our region. And about that time is when the cells started really developing. And this is the one in the northwest corner of Arkansas. And were you familiar with it hitting the nursing home and Manette, Arkansas, and all that? Were you familiar with that?
No, no, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. So this whole thing really starts. Now it starts as a basically a shower system in the southeastern corner of Arkansas, and then it obviously gains strength, but it runs up. And so the first major damage it does, it hits this town called Manette, Arkansas. And this was I'm not exactly sure of the time, but it was probably closer to like 7:30, 8 o'clock, roughly, give or take. And it hits a nursing home, and it killed somebody. Um, so then this thing jumps borders from Arkansas to Missouri. In the real, Missouri kind of like has a boot heel portion of the state,
Right.
and quite frankly, there's nothing there. I've driven through that area several times, and it is some of the most boring, desolate spots of the country. So, which is a good thing because there's nothing there for it to really destroy.
Right.
Um, and then it's still a tornado. It's still on the ground. It goes through and gets into Tennessee. And now we really start watching it because it's at this point, once it's getting into Tennessee, we already know it's destructive. It's still on the ground, and we at this point, we're watching the thing and watching the radars. And I have a radar like on my laptop going. I'm checking my phone with Twitter reports, and I have the TV going. So, and then I'm just going off of everything I possibly can. And when you see this thing, like obviously stay in a straight line, and you kind of start like looking at a map and seeing where this thing's going. Once it hit the state line, it was like this thing's heading straight for Mayfield, and potentially the Kentucky Dam based on where it was going. And at this point, as it gets closer and closer, it's not losing strength. It's in fact gaining strength as it had crossed the border. And I'll never forget this part. We're watching the news, and it was about 9:30. And you've seen plenty of weather forecasts, and you see the radar, and they're like, oh yeah, this is this storm, and you're like, what am I looking at? It's just this blob. It's just, here's this green, here's this red, and here's this whatever, but it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like this big blob.
Yeah.
They show the same radar, and it's circular like a hurricane, like, but except it's small and pinpointed because it's tornado.
Right.
And I've never seen that before. And the guys that were doing the commentary, one who were the weather guys that were on the local station, one of them I actually used to work with. They would both commented the same thing, like this, we've never seen something so well defined. And as the definition stays the same, and it goes, it's approaching Mayfield, and it's just south of it, like then it becomes like this. They I can't say screen grabbed it, but they as it was doing the animation, and it stopped, and it's like you can watch this thing, and like this thing's 25 miles south of us. And it was like this basically perfect tornado, and it just hit the city head on, like a train. And you could tell the weather guys were both like they didn't they were both like completely at a loss for words, because they knew I think we all knew like what this was doing. It wasn't like this was a, you know, uh, this is going to be a, oh well, this isn't going to do much. It was evident, and then it got like really weird. After all that happened, during kind of the same time, and I might be wrong in this, but there was a power issue at the National Weather Service in Paducah, which everyone assumed at the time was a lightning strike. So it knocked the radar offline. So our radar that like gives us all the relevant information as to where this stuff was going was off. So they had to start using a radar out of Fort Campbell, which is quite a bit further away, and one in Springfield, but I'm not entirely sure if it was Springfield, Missouri or Springfield, Illinois, but they're both pretty far away. And so now we're like relying on things that were not archaic, but like not anything new. Like they're taking like this, these radars from further away, so you don't have anything as defined. And then we lose the communication with the Kentucky State Police. That's offline, completely done. And it's like at this point, like it feels very end of the worldish,
Right.
because we just had a major town that we're both very familiar with, and in our area, it's a major town. It's 10,000 people. Just basically just get smashed. And then we start looking at Twitter further for like just more information, and it's just really creepy. Like I think the first picture that comes out, and it was taken by a man named Stephen Elder, was of the Mayfield courthouse, and there's a side by side of what it's supposed to look like and what it ends up looking like, and it just looks like a bomb went off. Um, and then, as the night progresses, that same tornado goes and rolls through Benton, Kentucky. It's another smaller town, and then it goes toward it at the point where it was going toward the Kentucky Dam. It was, I think it ended up being about 6 or 7 miles from that, but it ran through and destroyed basically what you and I would call development of houses along the lake. And then it keeps on going and going and going and hits more towns, and it destroys Dawson Spring, which is another town. Dawson Springs is another town of about 3,000 people, just completely wipes it out. And but you can just see this going. We don't have at this point, we don't have that many pictures or that many things, but it's happening, so that you kind of feel like, and at the same point, they're following this one because it's so bad, but there's other tornadoes around us. Like you mentioned, the one in Edwardsville is 2 hours north. There was like six at one time, like I believe 6 tornadoes around us that were like on the ground and moving. So we're just kind of like sitting there just really watching things, and then about 11 o'clock hits and we see another one coming out of Tennessee, except this time it's aiming right for basically where my dad lives. And it's like, what in the world? So for about 11 to midnight, roughly, I'm pins and needles. My dad just had hip replacement. It's not moving around very well. And there's a tornado that's heading like basically they were saying New Concord, Kentucky, which dad doesn't live in New Concord. New Concord's a wide spot in the road basically, but that is his area. And he's basically 3 miles, 4 miles from there. So I'm watching it, he's watching it. This thing at the time it's going toward his house. They're saying that it's becoming less defined. So it's like, oh, that's good. But then as it gets a little closer, it picks back up, and they said it's obviously a tornado. And so I'm like not freaking out, but I'm really like I'm on the phone with him and just to make sure he's fine and Nona's fine and just making sure everything's good. And sure enough, it was a tornado, but it was went by in more of a desolate area. He doesn't live in a very populated area anyway, but went more of a desolate area, and it was about 3 miles from him. That ended up being, I don't know, are you familiar with the EF3 tornado that hit Bowling Green?
No, I don't know.
So that it's all these, like we're familiar with them because they're so local, but like right now the national one is basically the one through Mayfield. That one that went by dad's, ended up going toward Bowling Green, and it ended up being like a registered EF3, and it smashed a bunch of stuff there, and I think killed a few people as well. Um, so it was like just not good, and we ended up finally being able to, I think, lay down at about 2 in the morning, and we both slept for maybe 3 hours or so, 4 hours tops. Just because at that point, like, your adrenaline is such at a weird level that you're nervous. What's just happened to a really close area. It's devastated, but you haven't seen it yet. And once daylight hits, man, my heart just sank. You know it. You saw what happened. I saw limited images because it was at night, so you don't really see much. And you've seen some of the videos, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's horrible. It's like you said, man, everything is just flattened.
It's you know, I um I don't know anybody personally that you know injured, lost life, whatever. But this time of year is rough anyway. Holidays are right here.
Right,
Um, and now we have basically 90% of a town of, like I said, of 10,000 people. Put it frame of reference, Pittman, New Jersey's are 10,000 people. Could you imagine 90% of that town's being gone in a matter of 5 minutes?
right.
That
And we had the ones not too long ago, the ones that hit through Mullica Hill, and we thought that the damage that was done there, which was what, like half a development, if that, we thought that
Yeah,
was terrible.
yeah,
And to have an entire town just pretty much wiped off the map is it's frightening.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy because even the forecasters that were joking ish, they weren't joking, but they were just made the light of it. It's like, we're used to tornadoes, but we're used to like the little guys, like the ones that'll spin up and maybe knock your playset down or knock a few trees over, knock shingles off. I mean, years ago, Danielle and I, when we lived in our other house, we got hit with like some 75, maybe 80-mile-an-hour straight line winds. It knocked half our shingles off. I mean, but that was such a common thing that it was, this just, oh, it's where we live,
Right.
it wasn't like anything anyone's like, oh, we just got to get a roofer in and have it done. It was just one of those matter of fact things. It wasn't like it was, whatever it was. And so, yeah, we are used to them. It does happen. I mean, it's not like this was out of the ordinary, except for the fact that it was so powerful and it just, the, the, you know, location, you know, if this was in the middle of a field, you would not hear about this. Um, but yeah, you had mentioned the Edwardsville, the Amazon plant thing, the candle factory thing, the same thing. Like, why were they there? I don't know. I don't get it.
See, now
Um,
the only thing I had heard about the candle factory was that people had gone in there to seek shelter. I didn't realize they were actually open.
they were actively working night shift. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
for nothing either. Now, granted, this was a um, factory job, basically making candles for different, like Colonial Candle, Wick, some of the lower, not like the Yankee Candle or anything like that.
Right.
We believe they contract though for other businesses. I'm not entirely certain on that. I won't speculate, but those are the ones that are listed on their website. Um, and there's some weird things with that. So they actually had a work release program. So they had prisoners working there, and so the 7 prisoners on that shift, and their officer, like their supervising officer, was there at the time. Um, the All the prisoners that were on work release survived, but the officer unfortunately did not. Um, the building collapsed, like the whole thing.
Right.
Around, I believe it was 100 people were inside. I know at least 40 got out. Um, I don't know it's so confusing because the information's been so spotty, and a lot of it's because communication's down in the area. There's no like there's that's one thing. People are like, oh yeah, they have no power. They have no power, no water, no cell phones. There's nothing. There's nothing there. I mean,
Right. Right.
it like they made comment about getting power and restored in certain areas. Like their entire power grid's done. It there's no restoring it. They have to rebuild the entire thing. I mean, it's done. So uh and that in fact, my dad, who lives half an hour away from even there, like his power is out for 2 days, and off this off the same like little pathways. But yeah, it's crazy. Like you know there's just so the information is very spotty on that whole candle situation. I think you're going to find that one really get some, and it's already gotten mainstream coverage, but I think you're going to find that getting a lot because there's a lot of interesting things coming out of that one. Paying, the one thing on it was like these guys were there working night shift. Basically, a couple comments were made about, hey, it's close to Christmas, we're just trying to make a few extra bucks type deal,
Right.
and I get it. But yeah, the same question goes back as to this wasn't, and I've seen people say, oh, this wasn't warned. And no, we knew something was going to happen for quite several days. Not, you never know where the tornado is going to go until,
Right.
it's on the ground basically, but there was warning. It just, why were they there? That's why we shut down everything, because it's very possible, like, how high school and stuff are, if you have a dance or a ball game, it's not uncommon for that stuff to go till 9, 10 o'clock. you
Right.
know this thing hit Mayfield at about 9:30. So I mean, yeah. I don't want to get into the reasons why that was open, but it was, and now there's a massive loss of life from it.
And on one hand, you look at it, and no, it's not like a hurricane where like you've got, oh, we've got a week, but like you said, you guys had enough notice that there's no reason. I get the holidays, I get all that crap, but what's more important, these people going home at the end of the day to their families, or this, somebody's Amazon package being a day late.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because the comment the newscasters kept on making it, the weather forecaster should say, and I want to give a shout out. Noah I can't pronounce his last name. Bergeron. I don't know. I could be wrong. And then Trent Okerson were the two local news forecasters, and there's obviously a little bit of help from other people that were on staff there. But they were at it for, I believe, 5 or 6 hours straight, and with like no commercial break, nothing, like just on it. And they both did a fantastic job. I mean, it was I can't speak highly enough of what they did to really kind of keep everyone informed, because that's how we were informed. National Weather Service, like I said, radar was out. Guess what else was out? Communications. We couldn't get our alerts. Tornado siren was never going to go off for us.
Right.
We were watching the news for that. That was it. If that one went off, like they said that they would go live on Facebook, which they were already. Like that would have been basically our way to find out like what could possibly, and if that was gone, then cross your fingers. You know what I mean? Like it was
Right.
it was crazy. Because we know, look, we've had our tornado sirens go off. I don't know how many times around here. We take shelter. We know the drill. We didn't have any go off around us this time because we had a couple that were somewhat close. And in fact, the one that went through Mayfield, I believe, was really close to the lower southeast corner of our county. And I almost wonder that it touched off a little bit of a warning there. But when they do the warnings, it's never like the entire county. It's basically just a drawn area. But it was just absolutely crazy. Um, I still can't quite wrap my head around what happened. I, had really thought about, what, what every, I guess the goodness of people. Both my stepbrothers are, they've been in the Mayfield, basically Mayfield proper, working since Friday, basically since after the tornado hit. Because they both they live really close to the area. They both do like heavy machinery operation. I mean, that's just what people do. Like this area, um, and you know, I know a lot of other areas are like this, but these people stick together to help each other out. They don't care who you are. Um, you know, and that was that you see the goodness like that coming out, and to kind of see the outpouring from really around the globe. And you and I can definitely kind of say this one is that I hope the donations all end up in the right hands.
Right.
But
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
so it's great to see. We've done a little bit ourselves, and certainly not enough. It's just whatever little we can, as far as trying to get some water and clothes and whatever we can. But we're also at this point, look, we want to let these people that are there working work, um, stay out of people's way. That's how we've been, and just kind of really, you know, uh, thumbing through Twitter and looking at videos and pictures, and it's surreal. It really is.
So speaking of the charity and everything, do you know of any good like donation organizations near you?
I I know the Kentucky Emergency Management Association has something out there that would be something good. Um, there was and it was funny. I try to be very wary of the GoFundMe stuff, but there is a vetted one that was actually started by the guy that put in the picture. His name's Stephen Elder, and I don't know the name of the GoFundMe offhand, but that was one. Uh, it was just odd to see the guy's name on it, because it's like, hey, wait a minute. But it's been vetted because the address traces back to, I believe, the local bank there. Um, but yeah, no. Other than that, I know there's a list of a countless number of churches and just different places around schools, and in fact, I know our kids' school district, which is a couple of one county over, um, basically, hey, tomorrow we bring in non-perishable food items for donation. Um, Tuesday we bring in a toiletry or paper products, toilet paper, paper towels, that sort of thing. And then this is the one thing Daniel and I kind of talked about this before. Look, it's close to Christmas, so they're going to start collecting unwrapped toys. Because look, right now, obviously, you're trying to meet the basic needs, clothes, food, and that sort of thing. But and there's kids that lost everything,
Right.
and we're 13 days now out from Christmas. So yeah, I think there's organizations, like I said, our kids' school district starting to do that, and it's just great to see the outpouring of support for the area. And like I said, I don't have any. All I can say is that we got really, 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 really lucky. You know, that thing starts in Arkansas. You think, and that's the thing. I really think about that. Thing started in Arkansas and went up, a couple of 100 miles, basically on a path. And that thing starts 10, 15 miles in another direction, or just even shifts just a little bit somewhere along its path. I don't want to think about it.
Right.
And that's been the kind of the tough part, is to not only see what happened, and then I hate playing the what if game, but it just really makes you, grateful for, really makes you forget the small shit.
Right. And let me ask you this, because being in Florida, obviously, I've dealt with hurricanes, and hurricane prep and all that stuff. There's not much you can really do to prep against a tornado, though, correct?
No, no, and really, truth be told, there's really no point, because it's so fast moving. Um, I guess you could kind of, hey, you're in a situation where we were Friday, where we knew 70% of a chance of having a really strong tornado in the region But when I mean region, it's that defined area of Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri, Western Kentucky, Northwestern Tennessee. Like I said, that northern portion of Arkansas. You have such a big area. Yeah, I guess you could try to board up windows or something. It's not going to do anything. Strong tornadoes going to knock it right over anyway. Your prep is basically to save yourself. That's it. Um, there's really nothing else to it. It's an entirely different animal, in the sense of, because there are times where we've had to take shelter. We've had maybe 5 minutes of warning, assuming something's either heading our direction or is very close. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's it's not good. Like, so a lot of people around here, yeah, they do have storm shelters, but this part of the country is not known for basements at all. So
Really?
yeah, yep,
You know, that's
and
surprising to me. I would figure up there because it's not. I know down here we don't have them because of the water table, but is it the same system or same reason there, or what's
it's
the?
two yeah it's twofold reason. One is in parts of the areas like that, especially because where kind of where we're at, the Ohio River runs through, so that's part of the, and we're also close to the confluence where it hits the Mississippi River, so same deal there with the water table.
Gotcha.
That's part of it, but the other part's just economics. It's a lot cheaper to pour a slab than it is to dig a basement, you
Ah,
know.
okay.
And quite frankly, there's still a lot of people that live in mobile home too, because for whatever reason, economics or otherwise. So uh, you know, several of those people do have an existing storm shelter. There are storm shelters that you can put in your house, like there's concrete things you can put inside your garage, just like a panic room. That supposed to withstand whatever. But yeah, and really in our own home, we don't really have anywhere we can go. Um, we our den is our basically our lowest spot, but it backs up to our sunroom, which is nothing but glass. So um, and it's a bad thing. I always say, oh, you get in your most interior room, and no windows between you, and bathtub or bathroom is always, that's you basically been, what's been told. Like both our bathrooms are upstairs, so
Ah, yeah, that
there's no
must have
point to
been
do
bad.
that.
Right, right. That's kind of
Yeah, yeah. So you just, you kind of take cover, and you say a lot of prayers. That's really what you do in tornado. That's tornado warning. I hope to God that we never have to experience one firsthand. I certainly, um, you know, don't want to. Um, but at the same point, I don't know that you really have much, you know, even in a storm shelter, it only offers so much protection. Um, that's, and I think, I go back and I look at that last hour of watching the one heading toward my dad's, and uh, especially knowing what had just happened, earlier in the evening, and you really start thinking a lot. I mean, it's scary. It really is. I can't say that there's been many times in my life that I've actually been scared, and Friday night was one of them.
yeah, man. It sounds like a hell of an ordeal, and I'm glad that you've made it out all right. Um, and your dad and everybody, and I've got some other friends up there too that luckily they were made it through okay without any real loss of life, and that's the important thing. Obviously you don't want to lose property or have property damage, but at the end of the day all that stuff can be replaced.
Exactly, exactly. You can replace a house, and you can replace everything that you own, and you cannot replace yourself, your family, your friends.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I appreciate you letting me kind of just run through this one. I know we don't do too many serious episodes, because we just goof, but I had to get this off. Daniel and I have been just chit chatting, nonstop, just watching videos and looking at stuff and just seeing what we can do. But you know, now I guess now the rebuild begins, and a long road ahead, and we'll just kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really all you can do at this point. You just help out where you can and just move forward and hope that it's a long time before we ever have to talk about any of this stuff again.
Exactly. And if there's one thing I can say, if anyone does actually listen to this, um, you know, uh, sometime during the next week, just wear red. That was Mayfield's school colors. So if anyone wants to just show any kind of little support, just I realize it's pretty easy around Christmas time, but
Right, right.
yeah, that's what our kids' school is doing. Tomorrow they had announced to wear red for kind of solidarity. So I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks I think maybe it'll be a red Christmas.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Well,
all right. Well, we're going to wrap it up on that. So until next time, we are the Noise Brigade. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.